Xander sits on the steps of my house. It's a familiar place for him to be in the summer, and his position looks familiar too. Legs outstretched, elbows resting on the steps behind him. The shadow he casts in the summer sun is smaller than he is. A darker, compacted version of Xander next to the real one. He watches me as I walk up the path, and when I get close, I see the pain still there in his eyes, a shadow behind the blue. I almost wish the red tablet had wiped away more than the past 12 hours for Xander. Then he didn't remember what I told him, how much it ached, almost, but not quite. Even though telling the truth has caused both of us hurt, I don't see how I could have given Xander anything different. It was all I have to give, and he deserves to have it. I've been waiting for you, Xander says. I heard about your family. I was in the city, I tell him. Come sit by me, Xander says. I hesitate. Does he mean this? Does he want me to sit by him? Or is he helping me put on a show for whoever might be watching? Xander keeps looking at me, waiting. Please? Are you sure? I ask. Yes, he says. And then I know that he is. He's in pain. I am too. Strikes me that perhaps this is part of what we are fighting to choose. Which pain we feel. Not much time has passed since the match banquet, but we are different now. Stripped from our fancy clothes, our artifacts, our brief in the match system. I stand there thinking about this. How much has changed. How little we knew. You always have to make me speak first, don't you? Xander asks, a hint of a smile on his face. You always win our arguments in the end. Xander, I say, and I sit down on the side right next to him. His arm goes around me, and I put my head on his shoulder, and he bends his head to rest on mine. I sigh, so deep it is almost a shudder at the relief I feel. How good this is to be held like this. None of it is for the society watching, always. It's all real, for me. I will miss him so much. Neither of us say anything for a moment, as we look out at our street together one last time. I might come back, but I won't live here again. Once you've been relocated, you don't return except to visit. A clean breaks are best, and I will make the cleanest break of all when I go find Kai. That is the kind of infraction no one can overlook. I heard you leave tomorrow, Xander says, and I nod, my head moving against his chest. I have to tell you something. What is it? I ask. I look ahead, feeling his shoulder move, under the shirt of his plainclothes, as he shifts position slightly, but I don't move away. What will he tell me? That he can't believe I betrayed him? That he wishes he'd never been matched to anyone but me? Those are things I deserve to hear, but I don't think he will say them, not Xander. I remember what happened this morning, Xander whispered to me. I know what really happened to Kai. How? I sit up right, looking at him. The red tablets don't work on me, he whispers, soft into my ear, so no one else can hear. He looks down the street, back towards the Markingham's house. They didn't work on Kai either. What? How are these two boys, who are so different, are connected in such unexpected deep ways? Maybe we are all, I think, and I don't know how to see it anymore. Tell me. Xander still gazes at the little house with the yellow shutters where Kai lived hours ago, where Kai watched and learned how to survive. Xander taught him some of that without knowing it, and perhaps Xander has been learning from Kai too. I dared him to take it once, a long time ago, Xander says quietly. It was when he first got here. I acted friendly to him, but inside I was jealous. I saw how you looked at him. Really? I don't remember this at all, but suddenly I hope Xander's right. I hope part of me fell in love with Kai before anyone else told me to. It's not a memory I'm proud of, Xander tells me. I asked him to come swimming with me one day, and then on the way I told him I knew about his artifact. I knew about it because once in the burrow over, I was coming back from taking something to a friend, and I caught Kai using it, trying to find his way home. He was so careful. I think it was the one time he got it out ever, but he had bad timing. I saw him. This image almost breaks my heart. It's another side of Kai I haven't seen before. Lost. Taking risks. All as well as I know him, as much as I love him, there are still parts of him I don't know. It's the way with everyone, even Xander, who I never could have pictured being so cruel. I dared him to find and steal 2 red tablets. I thought it would be impossible. I said that if he didn't bring them to swimming the next day, to prove he could, I'd tell everyone about the compass, the artifact, and get Patrick in trouble. What did he do? You know, Kai, he wouldn't risk his uncle. Then Xander started laughing, shocked. I had to ball up my fist in anger. Does he think this is funny? What in this story could there possibly be to laugh at? So Kai got the tablets. I guess he stole them from... Xander says, still laughing. Just guess. I don't know. Tell me. My parents, Xander stops laughing. Of course, it wasn't funny at the time. That night my parents were upset because their red tablets were missing. I knew right away what happened, but of course I couldn't say anything. I couldn't tell them about the dare. Xander looks down and I notice that he has a large brown paper envelope in his hand. It makes me think of Kai's story. I'm hearing another part of it now. It was a big mess. Officials came and everything. I don't know if you remember that. I shake my head. I don't. Then they checked to make sure that we hadn't taken the tablets, and they could tell somehow that we hadn't. My parents were pretty convincing, saying they didn't know what happened. They were completely panicked. Finally, the official decided that my parents must have lost the tablets when they were swimming earlier in the week, and that they had been neglected not to notice it sooner. They never caused any trouble before, so they just got off with an infraction, without an infraction, just a citation. Kai did that. He took the tablets from your parents. He did. Xander takes a deep breath. I went to his house the next day, ready to tear him apart. He stood on the front step waiting for me. When I got there, he held up 2 red tablets, right for everyone to see. Of course. I was so scared I grabbed them out of his hand and asked him what he was trying to do. That's when he told me that you don't play with other people's lives. Xander seemed ashamed, remembering. And then he told me that we could start over if I wanted. All we had to do was take the red tablets, 1 for each of us. He promised me I won't get hurt. That's cruel of him, too, I say in shock. But to my surprise, Xander disagrees with me. He knew the tablets didn't work on him. I don't know how, but he did. I thought they would work on me. He thought I wouldn't remember how horrible I'd been and that I was able to start clean. How many other people do you think are walking around out there pretending that their tablets worked when they didn't? I asked, wondering. As many as want to stay out of trouble, Xander says. He glances at me. Apparently they don't work on you either. It's not exactly like that, I say, but I don't want to tell him the whole story. He already carries enough of my secrets. Xander studies me for a moment, but then I don't say more, and he speaks softly. While we're talking about tablets, he says, I have a gift for you. A farewell gift. He hands me an envelope and whispers, Don't open it now. I put something in there to remind you of the burrow. But the real gift is a bunch of blue tablets in case you have to go to another long journey or something. He knows I'm going to try and find Kai, and he's helping me. In spite of everything, Xander hasn't betrayed me. And I realize too, I've never wandered or ran down the street after Kai if it was Xander who had set those events in motion. I knew he hadn't, but I kept faith. He kept faith with me. It's the prisoner's dilemma. It's a dangerous game that must be played with Kai and against with Xander. But what I know, and the officials doesn't, is that all of us will do our best to keep each other safe. Oh, Xander, how did you get these? They keep extra supplies at the pharmacy at the medical center, Xander says. These were slated for disposal. They're about to expire, but I think they'll still work for a few months past expiration. The officials will still miss them. He shrugs. They will be careful. You should be too. I'm sorry I couldn't bring you real food. I can't believe you're doing all this for me, I say to Xander. He swallows hard. Not just for you. For all of us. It makes sense now. If we could change things in time, maybe, we all could choose. Thank you, Xander, I say. I think about how I might have a chance to find Kai, thanks to Kai's compass and Xander's tablets. And I realize that, in so many ways, Xander is the one who made it possible for me to love Kai. Kai thought you might be able to help me learn how to use the artifact, I tell him. Now I know why. Did you recognize it the day when I gave it to you? I thought I did, but it's been a long time, and I kept my promise. I didn't open it.